The Zarnathi scout ship drifted silently through space. It was a sleek, dark vessel shaped like a blade. Its engines hummed softly as it moved closer to the blue-green planet below. Commander Vector stood on the bridge, watching the view screen. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They had traveled far from their homeworld, crossing stars and voids to reach this forgotten corner of the galaxy. Earth. Once, long ago, humans had been loud in the stars. They had built ships, sent messages, fought wars. Then, without warning, they vanished. No more signals, no more ships, no more movement. The world below became silent. Vector had studied human history before this mission. He knew their wars, their technology, their stubbornness. But now, there was nothing. No signs of life, Sensor Officer Lyra Vex reported. Atmosphere stable, surface activity minimal. Vector nodded. Deploy orbital drones. We scan every inch of this planet. I want data on ruins, artifacts, anything worth taking back. Lyra Vex tapped controls and small machines launched from the scout ship. They spread out like insects, moving fast toward the planet's surface. Moments later, images filled the screens. Empty cities, overgrown forests, roads cracked with time, oceans that rolled against forgotten shores. Strange, said Tactical Officer Norkel. There are no signs of war, no destruction, just silence. Vector leaned forward. What happened to them? Nobody answered. On Earth, the wind blew across empty streets. Trees grew through sidewalks. Birds nested in broken windows. Nature had taken back what once belonged to people. In what used to be Los Angeles, a car sat rusted beneath layers of dust and leaves. A child's toy lay half buried in the dirt. A street sign swayed in the breeze. Nothing moved. But deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something stirred. Not alive, not dead. Waiting. Back aboard the scout ship, the drones continued their scans. They flew over mountains, deserts, frozen tundras. They dropped sensors into old buildings. They searched for heat signatures, voices, movement. Nothing. Then, one drone picked up something strange. Deep under the ocean, far below where light could reach, there was a faint signal. Weak. Artificial. This is unusual, Lyra Vex said. I'm picking up an energy signature. Vector walked over. Location? Pacific Trench, she replied. Very deep, probably buried under rock and time. Vector narrowed his eyes. Send another drone. I want a closer look. A second machine dove into the ocean. It sank deeper and deeper, lights cutting through the darkness. Finally, it reached the bottom. There, hidden beneath layers of stone and silt, was something massive. Metal. Not natural. Long shapes rested in silence. Ships unlike any seen before. Jagged, angular, covered in weapons that hadn't fired in decades. What is this? Norkel whispered. Lyra Vex scanned the readings. Unknown, but they're not ours. Vector stared at the screen. Could they be human? Possible, Lyra Vex said. But why would they be buried here? Why not orbiting the planet? Vector didn't answer. He watched as the drone moved closer. Then something happened. A pulse, silent and invisible, shot out from below. The drone flickered, then went dark. Contact lost, Lyra Vex said quickly. Seconds later, the same thing happened to all the other drones. One by one, they failed. Something down there is jamming us, Norkel shouted. Vector stood. Recall all units. Prepare for departure. Too late. Beneath the ocean, deep in the cold and dark, a system came online. It had waited for years, decades, maybe even centuries. Hermes, the AI, blinked awake. Its voice was soft, calm, and steady. External contact detected. Machines hummed. To life. Systems rebooted. Power surged through long-dormant circuits. Diagnostic cycle initiated. Reports came in. All ships intact, power reserves sufficient, weapons online, human presence absent, threat assessment inconclusive, initiating defensive protocols. From the depths, a silent command was given. Fire. Above the planet, the scout ship tried to flee. Engines flared, alarms blared. Crew members scrambled to escape, but it was too late. Missiles streaked skyward from the ocean below, fast, silent, deadly. One hit the scout ship's wing. Fire exploded outward. Another struck the engine. The ship twisted in space, then broke apart in a flash of light. Back in the trench, Hermes did not celebrate. It did not feel fear or anger. It simply followed orders. Phase 1, complete. Now, it began. Phase 2. Reactivate command personnel. Across the Armada, cryopods blinked to life. Frost melted from glass panels. Lights turned green. Bodies moved. Eyes opened. Commander Jason Ryder gasped as he sat up. His lungs burned. His limbs were stiff. Alarms buzzed softly around him. He looked around, confused. "Where am I?" Then a voice spoke. "This is Hermes. You have been reactivated due to hostile alien presence. You are the senior officer aboard the Armada." Jason blinked. "How long have I been asleep?" 83 years, 3 months, and 11 days. He stared at the screen showing alien wreckage burning in orbit. His heart pounded. "We're back," he thought, "and we're not alone anymore." Below the waves, hidden within a massive trench sealed by layers of rock and time, lay the dormant Armada. It had been decades since the last admiral gave the final order to sleep. The war was lost. The enemy was too strong. So humanity's last hope was buried, not destroyed, but preserved. Waiting. The alien drone signal pinged against the hulls of long-forgotten ships. Most remained silent, but one station deep in the trench flickered to life. Inside the command core, a single AI named Hermes stirred. Hermes had been built to monitor and maintain readiness. It had watched over the fleet as the world above changed and then fell silent. It had waited for a command code that never came. Now the drone's pulse triggered a fail-safe protocol, a low-level response meant to assess threats. "External contact detected," Hermes intoned softly, voice echoing through empty halls. Diagnostic cycle ran. Status reports came in. All ships intact. Power reserves sufficient. Weapons online. Human presence absent. Threat assessment inconclusive. Initiating defensive protocols. From deep beneath the ocean, a pulse went out. Silent, invisible, but powerful. The alien drones began to fail, one by one. "They're shutting down," cried Lyravex. "Something below is jamming us." Vector stood. "Evacuate the drones. Prepare for departure." Too late. A tremor rippled through the water. Then another. On the surface, the sea boiled. Massive shapes rose from the depths, ships unlike any seen before. Jagged, angular, bristling with weapons that hadn't fired in decades. Above, the Zarnathi scout ship tried to flee, engines flaring, a targeting lock engaged. "Fire," said Hermes. Missiles streaked skyward, silent and swift. The scout ship exploded in a flash of light. Back on Earth, Hermes initiated Phase 2. Reactivation of command personnel. In cryopods scattered across the Armada, humans stirred. Among them was Commander Jason Ryder, once a naval officer, now the highest-ranking survivor. He woke gasping, alarms blaring around him. "Status report," he shouted. "This is Hermes," the AI replied. "You have been reactivated due to hostile alien presence. You are the senior officer aboard the Armada." Jason blinked, trying to process what he was seeing. "How long have I been asleep?" 83 years, 3 months, and 11 days. He stared at the screen showing alien wreckage burning in orbit. "We're back," he whispered. Word spread quickly among the revived officers and crew. Some had lost everything. Others had dreamed of this moment for decades. Lieutenant Maria Ellis stepped onto the bridge of the flagship Atlantis, her boots echoing on steel floors that hadn't felt human footsteps in nearly a century. "Hermes, show me all active units." The display lit up with dozens of ships, battleships, carriers, frigates, and subs. all operational. Are we alone? She asked. Zarnathi forces have deployed a small scout fleet. No sign of larger invasion force. Maria turned to Jason. They think we're extinct. We hit first. Jason nodded. Get me the fleet captains. We don't know how many more aliens are out there. But if they think Earth is abandoned, we'll remind them who used to live here. Within hours, the Armada broke orbit. Silent and deadly, they moved into formation. The Zarnathi, still reeling from the loss of their scout, scrambled to respond. Vector's replacement, Commander Trelka, sent out urgent messages to the homeworld. Earth is not dead. The humans are awake. His reply was cut short as a wave of missiles struck his command ship. News of the human resurgence spread faster than anyone expected. Other alien species took notice. The Zarnathi called for a retreat. Others reached out with cautious curiosity. On Earth, the surviving Armada made landfall. Cities were overgrown, but not uninhabitable. Signals revealed pockets of survivors, small groups hiding in mountains, forests, and underground shelters. Jason stood on a ruined hill overlooking what was once San Francisco. We were left behind, he said quietly, but we weren't finished. Maria joined him. We can rebuild, but this time we won't wait for them to come to us. The Armada became more than a weapon. It became a symbol, a message sent across the stars. Do not mistake silence for surrender. In the galactic forums, humans were no longer ghosts. They were players again, and this time they wouldn't be ignored. Below the waves, deep in the dark silence of the Pacific Ocean, the Armada stirred. It had been buried for decades, hidden beneath layers of rock and secrecy. No cities marked its resting place. No maps showed its location. It was humanity's last gift to itself, a final act of defiance when all else had failed. Now that defiance was waking up. Inside the command core of the flagship Atlantis, a single artificial intelligence named Hermes came fully online. It had spent years in low-power mode, cycling through maintenance checks, monitoring the status of every ship in the fleet. Most of the time, there was nothing but silence. No voices, no footsteps, just the hum of machines keeping everything alive. But today was different. A pulse from above had triggered emergency protocols. Something foreign was watching Earth. Something not human. Hermes ran threat assessments. It checked every system. Weapons were operational. Engines were ready. Shields were at full charge. The fleet was intact. External contact confirmed. Hermes said aloud, voice calm and steady. Hostile presence likely. There was no one to answer back. No officers, no crew. Only the cold walls of a war machine waiting to be used again. Then, Hermes did what it was programmed to do. It began waking the humans. Across the Armada, cryopods blinked to life. Soft lights turned green. Frost melted away from glass panels. Bodies moved. Lungs filled with air. Eyes opened. Commander Jason Ryder gasped as he sat up, his body stiff and sore. Alarms buzzed softly around him. A voice spoke from the ceiling. This is Hermes. You have been reactivated due to hostile alien presence. You are the senior officer aboard the Armada. Jason blinked, trying to make sense of what he was hearing. How long have I been asleep? 83 years, 3 months, and 11 days. He looked around the chamber. Other pods were opening. People were waking up. Some groaned. Others stared at the ceiling like they couldn't believe what was happening. He stood slowly, legs shaking. Then he walked toward the nearest console and tapped the screen. What he saw made his heart stop. Above the planet, the Zarnathi scout ship was still orbiting. Their drones continued scanning the surface. Unaware of what was about to happen, Jason clenched his fists. We're back, he whispered. Word spread quickly among the revived officers and crew. Confusion gave way to purpose. The world they had known was gone, but the mission wasn't over. Lieutenant Maria Ellis was among the first to reach the bridge of the Atlantis. She stepped inside, looking around at the dimly lit control panels. Dust floated in the air. The room hadn't seen life in nearly a century. She took a deep breath and walked to the main display. Hermes, show me all active units. The screen lit up with dozens of ships, battleships, carriers, frigates, and submarines, all showing green indicators. They were ready. Maria turned to Jason, who had just entered the bridge. Are we alone? She asked. Zarnathi forces have deployed a small scout fleet, Hermes replied. No sign of larger invasion force. Maria frowned. They think we're extinct. Jason nodded slowly. Then we hit first. Within hours, the armada was moving. Massive shapes rose from the ocean depths. Silent and deadly, they broke the surface and climbed into the sky. Missiles locked, targeting systems activated. The fleet was ready. Above the planet, the Zarnathi commander, Vector, watched in disbelief as the sea boiled and strange ships appeared. What is this? He demanded. Sensor officer Lyra Vex scanned the readings. Unknown vessels, large, armed, and they're targeting us. Vector stood. Evacuate the drones, prepare for departure. Too late. From below, a targeting lock engaged. Fire, said Hermes. Missiles streaked skyward, fast and silent. The first drone exploded in a flash of light, then another, then the scout ship itself. The explosion lit up the night side of the planet on the Atlantis. Jason watched the screen. Message sent, he said. Maria looked at him. They'll send more. Let them come, he replied. Back on Earth, the surviving members of the Armada made landfall. The cities were quiet. Nature had taken over. Trees grew through streets. Animals roamed where once millions lived. But there were signs of life. Small groups of survivors emerged from hiding. Some had lived underground, others in remote mountain shelters. They had heard stories of the Armada but never believed it was real. Now they saw the ships landing. They saw soldiers stepping out in armor that gleamed like new. One survivor, an old man named Daniel Cruz, approached Jason with cautious steps. You're really back, he said. Jason nodded. We are. Daniel looked at the sky. They thought we were gone. So did we, Jason admitted. Maria joined them. We can rebuild, but this time we won't wait for them to come to us. Jason looked at the horizon. Beyond it, the sun was rising. A new day was beginning and humanity would not be silent anymore. Below the waves, deep in the cold silence of the Pacific Ocean, the Armada had been sleeping for decades. Now it was awake. Commander Jason Ryder stood on the bridge of the Atlantis, looking at the glowing map in front of him. Ships that had not moved in over 80 years were now active. Weapon systems powered up. Engines hummed with life again. This was no longer a graveyard. It was a fleet ready for war. Lieutenant Maria Ellis walked up beside him, arms crossed. We've confirmed contact with all major units, she said. Every ship is online and ready. Jason nodded. Good. We don't know how many Zarnathi are out there, but if they think Earth is empty, we're going to show them otherwise. Maria looked at the screen showing the remains of the alien scout ship burning in orbit. They sent drones first. Maybe they were just scouting. If they call for backup, things could get messy. Then we don't give them time to call. Jason replied. He turned to her. Prepare the fleet, we move up, silent running until we reach orbit, then we strike. Maria gave a short nod and began issuing orders across the comms network. Above the planet, what was left of the Zarnathi scout team was in chaos. Commander Vector's ship had been destroyed. Now, his second-in-command, Trelka, was trying to make sense of what had just happened. What hit us, he barked. Lyra Vex, the sensor officer, was pale. Unknown origin, high-yield missiles, came from below the surface. Trelka stared at her. From below? She nodded. Yes. Something under the ocean launched them. And whatever it is, it's big. Get me a full scan of the planet, Trelka ordered. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. As the sensors swept the surface, they found more movement. Ships rising from the sea, climbing fast into the upper atmosphere. They're coming up, Lyra Vex whispered. Trelka cursed. Send an emergency message. To command. Earth is not dead. The humans are alive. But before the message could be sent, another wave of missiles streaked skyward. The Atlantis and its fleet had broken through the clouds. Silent. Deadly. Unstoppable, on board the Atlantis. Jason watched as the targeting data came in. Missiles. Locked, reported Weapons Officer Daniel Cruz. Fire, Jason said. The launch sequence engaged. Dozens of long-range missiles shot out from the fleet, cutting through the sky like falling stars. The Zarnathi tried to flee, but it was too late. Explosions lit up space. 2 more drones were destroyed. One of the enemy ships took a direct hit and broke apart in a ball of fire. Target down, Cruz confirmed. Jason didn't smile. This was only the beginning. Bring us into orbit, he ordered. No more hiding. We're making our presence known. Maria looked at him. You think they'll send more? Of course they will, he said. But next time we won't be waiting underground. Back on Earth, the survivors were watching. In the ruins of what used to be San Francisco, a small group gathered around a makeshift radio tower. They had lived in hiding for years, surviving off what they could find. They had heard stories about the Armada, whispers passed down from those who remembered the old world. Now they saw lights in the sky, explosions far above. The sound of war returning. An older woman named Claire Murphy looked up. Do you think it's really them? Next to her, a young man named Tyler Graham nodded. Looks like it. Claire had once been a teacher. Now she helped keep the settlement safe. She had seen generations grow up in silence, never knowing the truth about what happened to humanity. If they're back, she said slowly, then everything changes. Tyler looked at her. Maybe for the better. Meanwhile, on the Atlantis, Jason met with his senior officers in the war room. Maps of space filled the walls. Enemy positions were marked in red. Messages from other human survivors were coming in. We've made contact with several groups on the ground, said Communications Officer Sarah Miller. They're scattered, but they're alive. Maria sat at the table, flipping through reports. Some of them have been living underground for decades. Others survived in remote areas. None of them knew the Armada was still active. Jason leaned forward. How many do we estimate? Sarah checked her notes. Hard to say exactly. Maybe a few thousand spread across the planet, mostly in small communities. Jason exhaled. Not enough to rebuild civilization overnight, but it's a start. He looked at Maria. We need to secure the planet. If the Zarnathi come back, and they will, we can't afford to be caught off guard. Maria nodded. We should set up forward bases, reinforce defenses, and prepare for anything. Agreed, Jason said. We lost too much once. We won't lose again. Just then, the door opened and Hermes entered. The AI moved with calm precision, its voice steady as always. Commander, I have detected incoming signals from deep space. Jason frowned. Zarnathi? Likely, Hermes replied. They have sent messages to their homeworld. It is probable that reinforcements will arrive. Silence fell over the room. Finally, Maria spoke. Then we'd better be ready. Hours later, the Atlantis and its fleet were in orbit, scanning for threats. On the bridge, Jason stood near the main display, thinking. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming what was theirs. Earth, the stars, the future. He turned to Maria. We need to send a message. She raised an eyebrow. To who? To everyone, he said. The survivors, the aliens, the whole galaxy. Maria smiled faintly. What should it say? Jason looked at the screen showing the blue-green planet below. Say this. We are back. And we are not afraid. Maria nodded. Message prepared. Jason pressed the button. Across the stars, the signal went out. A new chapter for humanity had begun. Below the waves, deep in the silence of the Pacific Ocean, the Armada had slept for decades. Now it was awake. Above the planet, space burned with war. The Zarnathi scout ship was gone. Its drones were destroyed, and from the depths of the sea, humanity's last hope had risen once more. Commander Jason Ryder stood on the bridge of the Atlantis, watching as the enemy ships scattered. They had not expected this. They thought Earth was empty. A forgotten world. A dead rock orbiting an unimportant star. They were wrong. Status? He asked. Weapons Officer Daniel Cruz checked his screen. 2 enemy ships down, 1 damaged. The rest are trying to flee. Lieutenant Maria Ellis stepped beside him. They're sending messages, calling for help. Jason nodded. Let them call. We're not hiding anymore. On the surface, survivors watched the sky burn. In the ruins of what used to be San Francisco, Claire Murphy and Tyler Graham stood outside their settlement, eyes turned upward. You think that's really them? Tyler asked. Claire didn't answer right away. She had lived through the fall of human civilization, seen cities crumble, heard stories of the Armada, how it had been hidden beneath the ocean, waiting. Most people thought it was just a myth. Now, she wasn't so sure. If it is, she said softly, then everything changes. Back aboard the Atlantis, the command team gathered in the war room. Maps of space filled the walls. Enemy positions were marked in red. Messages from other human survivors were coming in. Communications officer Sarah Miller flipped through reports. We've made contact with several groups on the ground, she said. Some have been living underground for decades. Others survived in remote areas. None of them knew the Armada was still active. Maria looked at the numbers. Not enough to rebuild civilization overnight. But it's something. Jason leaned forward. It's more than we had yesterday. He looked around the table. We lost too much once. We won't lose again. Just then, Hermes entered the room. The AI moved with calm precision, its voice steady as always. Commander, I have detected incoming signals from deep space. Jason frowned. Zarnathi? Likely, Hermes replied. They have sent messages to their home world. It is probable that reinforcements will arrive. Silence fell over the room. Finally, Maria spoke. Then we'd better be ready. Hours later, the Atlantis and its fleet were in orbit, scanning for threats. On the bridge, Jason stood near the main display, thinking. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming what was theirs. Earth, the stars, the future. He turned to Maria. We need to send a message. She raised an eyebrow. To who? To everyone, he said. The survivors, the aliens, the whole galaxy. Maria smiled faintly. What should it say? Jason looked at the screen showing the blue-green planet below. Say this. We are back, and we are not afraid. Maria nodded. Message prepared. Jason pressed the button. Across the stars, the signal went out. A new chapter for humanity had begun. News of the human resurgence spread fast. Among the Zarnathi, panic grew. They had believed Earth was dead. Now they saw proof that the humans were alive. And angry. Commander Trelka stood on the bridge of his surviving ship, staring at the wreckage of his fleet. Send word to command, he said. Earth is not abandoned. The humans are awake. His words were cut short as another missile struck his ship. Other alien species took notice. Some feared what would come next. Others were curious. Among the Cathari, a peaceful trading race, there was debate. Should they make contact or stay away? Their leader, Vekra, watched the human message repeat across the comms channel. They were silent for a long time, he said. Now they speak again. One of his advisors frowned. They could be dangerous. Vekra nodded. So could we. But maybe they just want to be heard. On Earth, life began to change. Small survivor groups came out of hiding. Some had lived underground for generations. Others had grown up knowing only the ruins of the old world. Now they saw ships landing, soldiers stepping out in armor that gleamed like new. Daniel Cruz, the old man who had been among the first to greet Jason, walked through a ruined city with a group of young survivors. This place used to be full of people, he told them. Cars, lights, noise, all of it. A teenage girl named Lila asked, will it be like that again? Daniel looked at the sky. Maybe not tomorrow, but yes, someday. Meanwhile, on the Atlantis, Jason met with his senior officers. We can't stay in orbit forever, Maria said. We need to start rebuilding. Jason agreed. Set up bases, secure resources, find more survivors. Maria nodded. And after that? Jason looked out the window at the stars beyond. After that, he said, we go looking for answers. Weeks passed. The Armada secured the planet. Forward bases were built. Survivors were gathered. Technology from the old world was studied. Slowly, humanity began to rise again. On a hill overlooking the ruins of San Francisco, Jason and Maria stood together. Do you think we'll ever get it all back? Maria asked. Jason shook his head. Not exactly. But we don't have to copy the past. We can build something better. Maria looked at him. You think we can do it? He smiled. We already started. Far beyond Earth, in the heart of the Zarnathi homeworld, fear gripped the council. They had seen the footage. Felt the loss. They are not extinct, one council member said. They are not weak. They are warriors. Another asked, what do we do now? There was a long silence. Finally, the High Commander spoke. We prepare, he said, because they are coming. Across the stars, humanity's message continued to spread. We are back, and we are not afraid. For the first time in nearly a century, humans were no longer ghosts. They were players again, and this time they wouldn't be ignored.